Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video what I thought I would do is share with you 9 tips that we've picked up now from doing the various cruises that we've done over the past couple of years. I started cruising around 2 years ago, just as we started coming out of the pandemic, and since then I've done 10 cruises on a variety of different ships and cruise lines, different itineraries, both solo and with family. And what I thought I'd do in this video is share with you 9 tips that I think is really handy for new cruisers. So let's jump into the video.
Welcome back to the channel.
Ready for another cruise? Let's go! Now, tip number 1 is quite a handy one and can save you a little bit of money, and that is to bring your own drinks on board. Now, depending on what cruise line you go with, sometimes you might find that you have a drinks package included, sometimes you may wish to purchase a drinks package, or you can do what I've done on a couple of cruises now, and that's actually bring your own drinks on board. Now, depending on which cruise line you're sailing with, there's different guidelines as to how much you can bring on. Certain cruise lines you're allowed to bring, say, 1 bottle of champagne on, others it's 2. Sometimes you're allowed to bring up to kind of, 12 cans of soft drink. It just depends on your particular cruise line. There are a couple out there. Princess is one example where you can kind of bring as much soda as you wish on board. So on the cruise that I did a couple of weeks ago on a 4-night sailing, I brought 2 packs of 8 cans, so 16 cans for that particular cruise, and that saved me a little bit of money because I was able to drink those cans in my cabin or around the ship if you took one, say, to buy the pool. And that's just a handy way of saving a little bit of money on top of your cruise fare, of course, and it's quite handy. There's various different guides online. There's some really good ones. Paul and Carol have some great information on their website. I'll leave a link down to their channel below for you, but just have a little research prior to going on your cruise and see what your cruise line allows you to bring. If you can bring a bottle of champagne or a bottle of wine per person in your cabin, then obviously you can save a little bit of money there compared to buying that bottle on board. So just keep that in mind. It's handy to look at and can save you a little bit of money as well. So my second tip for new cruisers is to join a Facebook group for your particular sailing. Now, if you head over onto Facebook, you can usually search for your particular ship as well as the date of your sailing, and you'll often find that someone's already created a group for your particular cruise. Now, this is really handy, as in there you'll find people that are sharing information about your cruise, whether it's ports, travel information, maybe where the ship's being docked, parking info, anything like that, and you can start to get to know your fellow cruisers as well. This is really handy as you can often see different events that are running, different information about itineraries or themed nights, anything like that. It's just a really handy place for you to discuss information with your fellow cruisers. Some examples that I've seen is I've seen people sharing discount codes for parking, so you're able to pick up some slightly cheaper parking. Some people tell you about which terminal it's docking at. There's even people that have been on the ship, just prior to your sailing, and they're able to tell you things like, what dress you're wearing that particular night for that particular theme, something like that. So again, it's just a really handy place for you to start to meet your fellow cruisers, and obviously you can ask questions about the ship, dining, whatever it may be, and it just helps kind of start your experience off on the right track. It's really useful. I definitely recommend checking it out. Now, tip number 3 I think is a really important one, and that's to remember to have some relaxation time. Remember to enjoy some downtime. Quite often, a lot of the time, if you're new to cruising, and particularly if you book some of these more modern cruise lines and cruise ships, say the Carnival Celebration or Royal Caribbean, Oasis of the Seas, Wonder of the Seas, anything like that, all these cruise ships have so many fantastic activities, different things on board, whether it's a roller coaster or a skydiving simulator, whatever it may be. But there's the temptation to kind of go and book everything and go and do everything, and of course I understand that you want to experience all these different items on the ship. However, it's also your holiday. It's a chance to downtime, have a bit of relaxation time, what have you. So do make sure that you take a little bit of time to enjoy your cabin, sunbathe, chill by the pool, and just relax a little bit. Of course, if you do miss out on items, it's not the end of the world, because hopefully you catch the cruising bug, and then obviously you can go on to cruise many more times on those particular ships. But definitely recommend just to kind of take some time to relax a little bit amongst all the kind of fun activities that you've got on board these cruise ships. Now, tip number 4 is actually one that is overlooked by new cruisers quite a lot of the time, and that is learn how to pre-book shows, dining, and any activities that require reservation. Again, you can usually find this information about online in your booking or in the Facebook groups if you join those, but start to get an idea as to what you need to pre-book. For most cruise lines, things like specialty dining restaurants, you need to have a reservation for. So my kind of recommendation here is to try and find out what you need to book and when and how, and then obviously when you then get on board the ship, try and book that in as early as you possibly can. That just avoids disappointment in case it fills up. There's quite a lot of these restaurants and activities are really popular and they do get booked up very quickly. So if you're able to get on board and get those locked in, then obviously you can enjoy those throughout your cruise. And of course, my other kind of tip here with this as well is that if you decide you don't want to go to a particular restaurant or you don't want to do a particular activity, just try and cancel it as well, because that then opens up a slot for someone else who obviously in the cruise line that wants to do that particular activity or dining reservation. But definitely pre-book the shows, dining, anything like that, so that you don't miss out. There are some fantastic things on these cruise ships and you're definitely going to want to enjoy them. Now, tip number 5 is try more than just the buffet. Now, on these cruise ships you have so many fantastic dining options, and it's quite easy quite a lot of the time just to go, let's go to the buffet. It's usually the largest area on the ship, you've got such an extensive range, and it always has some fantastic food. However, you also have some really lovely main dining rooms on board these cruise ships, and that allows you the chance to sit down, relax, unwind a little bit, and have a nice sit down meal with waiter service, and that's really, really lovely. And you also have some fantastic specialty dining on board as well. So I would definitely recommend, a couple of times throughout your cruise, maybe try the main dining room for breakfast or for lunch, or try it for dinner one evening. Just mix and match and stuff. If obviously you decide the buffet is your favourite place and where you want to be, that's completely understandable, but try and give the main dining rooms a try at least once per meal throughout your cruise, just to say you've done it, experience it, and have a little bit more of a relaxed atmosphere. Now, tip number 6 for new cruises, I think, is one that a lot of people probably miss, and that is remember to adjust your travel insurance. Now, most people when they go on holiday, they get a travel insurance policy that obviously covers them in the event of any medical issues, any missed flights, baggage issues, whatever it may be. But a lot of people forget that sometimes you need particular cover for cruising. So for example, we have a travel policy here as a family which covers us for general kind of holidays and travel throughout the year in Europe and the rest of the world, but it also includes cruise cover. A lot of cruise lines will stipulate that as part of their booking you need to have a travel insurance policy that includes this, but not all of them do, and sometimes it's not very clear, and there have been people that have gotten to the port and kind of been caught out that they haven't had this cover. So just double check when you're booking and any kind of information you're provided afterwards that you have got the right cover for your particular cruise. It's really important. I know a lot of people say, I'm going to chance it, I'm only doing a 3 or 4 day cruise. I'm completely against this in my honest opinion, just because you never know when something may happen. God forbid that you're down route and you have an accident or you miss a port or anything like that. It's nice to have that reassurance that you're covered in the event of any of those things. So I highly recommend checking out the appropriate travel insurance policy with cruise cover for your particular cruise. Tip number 7 then, kind of following on from the travel insurance policy stuff, is to allow extra travel time. Now quite often, a lot of the time, your cruise will go from a different port, not necessarily your home port. For example, we've cruised from Miami before, which is over in Florida, and we're in the UK, so we often have to fly all the way over from the UK to Miami to catch our particular cruise. So what I always recommend here is to allow just a little bit of additional time, just to give you a little bit more flexibility if anything goes wrong. So for example, if we're starting a cruise on the Sunday, say in Miami, we usually try and get to Miami at least on the Saturday. We don't want to be arriving on Sunday and having delays, issues with bags, whatever it may be, and potentially missing our embarkation time or the ship all entirely. And of course, obviously things do happen with different weather events and issues or maintenance, whatever it may be. Flights can get delayed, cancelled, all sorts of stuff like that. So whether you're travelling, say, domestic from, say, Los Angeles to Miami, all the way from the UK, or even if you're driving down from, say, Newcastle to Southampton, just make sure you allow a little bit of extra time just in case you have any issues or delays that may delay you getting to your ship. Of course, obviously, if you do miss your embarkation time and then don't make it on board, unfortunately a lot of the time the cruise lines aren't able to wait for you. Sometimes there's a little bit of a kind of leeway and stuff, particularly if you've maybe booked travel with the cruise line, but not always. So my recommendation here, just allow yourself a little bit of extra time to ensure that you can get to the port in good time and nice and relaxed, ready for your cruise. Tip number 8 then is to research any particular ports you're visiting prior to going on your cruise. Now, the fantastic thing about cruising that I've fallen in love with is that you get to visit so many wonderful places on board these itineraries. We've done everything from San Juan to Jamaica, St. Thomas. We visited some fantastic ports, and what I've tried to do prior to going is just do a little bit of research about them. You know, where is the place? What kind of, environment is it? Do I need to take any particular currency? Are there any particular, health or travel requirements? Do I need to apply for a visa, for example? What do I need to visit, and just make my experience a little bit better. It's also quite handy just for little things in terms of, if you're not going to do an excursion, whereabouts is the ship going to dock? Am I able to walk from, say, where the ship docks into the town centre? Are there any shops around? Any different activities and stuff I want to do? And it just starts to get your bearings. I found it particularly useful in San Juan, where I knew where we were docking, I knew what we wanted to visit, and we could then walk around and have a bit of an explore and have the confidence that we know where we are and where the ship's going to be. And it also starts to give you an idea as well as about how safe the place is, and that's really important if you've got little ones or if you're travelling on your own. You want to know, what the area is like, anything to watch out for and stuff like that. So it doesn't have to be extensive research, you don't have to do lots and lots, but even if you're not necessarily planning on getting off the ports, just give it a little bit of research, just so that if you do decide, hey, actually, you know what, I do want to get off the ship, you've just got a little bit of knowledge about the area, just so you can obviously get, head into the port and enjoy your experience. But that's tip number 8, and that will lead me on to my final tip now, tip number 9, which is talking about your experience overall, and that's don't let negative experiences put you off cruising. If you're a first time cruiser, you may have just done a 4-night voyage, you might have done a week, you might have done a couple of days, and cruises are very, very different depending on the cruise line you do, where you go, how long you're on the ship for, the cruise line, are you solo, are you family? There's so many factors that come into play. So my biggest advice for new cruisers is don't be put off straight away by cruising. Go out, explore, experience new cruise lines, different options, and just research what's best for you. It might be that your experience was completely justified in that you had just a lot of issues with that particular cruise line. It might be that it just didn't suit you. Maybe that ship was too lively, had too many kind of family activities and, too much going on, and you just want something a bit quieter. Or it might be that actually you think, I don't like the quieter ships, I want something with a bit more kind of, liveliness and what have you. So you can just, that's what's fabulous about cruising. There's no particular cruise line that suits everyone. Everyone's got a slightly different, flavour and preference of cruise line. And obviously that's the best thing about it, is you can go off and explore those. So if you do have a slightly negative experience, I always suggest coming back, having a little bit of a research and thinking, hey, maybe Norwegian wasn't for me, but I'm going to go and try Royal Caribbean, whatever it may be. So that's my kind of final tip there. If you're new to cruising and have a bit of a negative experience, just keep exploring, because there really are some fantastic ships, itineraries and cruise lines out there. There we have it then. That is 9 cruise tips for new cruisers for you. I've now done 11 cruises since I started 2 years ago, and I'm still learning new things each time, but I feel like these are really good kind of starting tips and stuff for anyone that's looking to do a cruise or has their first one booked. What do you think? Have I missed anything? Is there anything you'd add to this list? Is there anything that you disagree with? I'd be really interested in hearing your comments down below. And of course, if you are cruising for the first time, please leave a comment down below so I can hear about where you've booked, what cruise line you're going on, and more so I can wish you a fabulous time. But in the meantime, that's going to be all for this video. If you're new to that channel, please hit that subscribe button down below, as we have lots of videos and stuff from different cruise lines, cruise ships, cabin tours, and lots of other content as well. But that's all from me. Many thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
Welcome back to your channel.
Ready for another cruise? Let's go!